If you're over 60, this message could save your life. Stroke rarely gives you a second chance. One moment you feel fine, reading the paper, sipping your morning coffee, and the next, your arm won't move, your speech is slurred, or your world spins out of control. As a brain doctor, I've seen far too many seniors suffer devastating strokes, not from bad luck or poor lifestyle, but from a simple habit they believed was helping them, drinking baking soda water. Every day, millions of older adults across America mix a little baking soda into water, thinking it will ease digestion, cleanse the body, or balance pH. But what no one tells you is that this small ritual, especially when done daily, can silently damage your kidneys, throw off your blood chemistry, and even spike your stroke risk overnight. In this video, I'll reveal the shocking science behind baking soda's hidden effects on the aging brain and body. You'll hear real patient stories, learn why natural doesn't mean safe, and most importantly, discover what you should do instead. Stay with me, because the glass of water in your kitchen may be quietly putting your life at risk while you sleep. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. A sudden spike in blood sodium levels. You've likely heard it said, "It's just baking soda. What harm could it do?" That very thought crosses the minds of thousands of older Americans each morning or evening as they stir a spoonful into warm water. They believe they're helping their digestion, detoxifying their bodies, or even balancing their pH. But what they don't see, what I see as a brain doctor, are the catastrophic consequences that unfold quietly inside their bloodstream, all because of one silent ingredient, sodium. Baking soda is made of sodium bicarbonate, a salt. Just 1 teaspoon contains about 200 milligrams of sodium. That's over half the recommended daily limit for older adults, especially those with heart disease, high blood pressure, or kidney issues. Now imagine adding that to your daily routine without realizing that you're spiking your blood sodium every single time. In a younger body, the kidneys work like well-trained gatekeepers, filtering excess sodium efficiently. But for older adults, kidney function gradually declines, even without noticeable symptoms. When too much sodium builds up, the blood thickens, blood pressure climbs, and the delicate arteries in the brain are forced to tighten and strain. For some, that pressure becomes unbearable, and it gives way. I'll never forget Mr. James Holloway, 82, a retired mail carrier from Idaho. He was the picture of discipline, still walked every morning, ate oatmeal for breakfast, and proudly avoided processed food. But for over a year, he drank a glass of water with baking soda each night to help with mild indigestion. He never smoked, never drank. He thought he was doing everything right. Then one morning, he didn't wake up normally. His wife found him in bed, half conscious, unable to move his left side. At the hospital, we discovered he had suffered a hypertensive stroke overnight. His sodium levels were dangerously high, and his blood vessels, especially in the brain, had become rigid and inflamed. The excess sodium had created a pressure cooker inside his own body. He survived, but not without consequences. He lost the ability to walk without assistance, and his short-term memory was never the same. The saddest part? He had no idea that his evening remedy was slowly turning into a neurological time bomb. The danger isn't just in the ingredient, it's in the timing, the repetition, and the age of the body. At 30, you might tolerate a sodium spike. At 70 or 80, that same spike can trigger a brain bleed while you sleep. No warning, no headache, just silence, and then a life forever altered. And once it happens, there's no rewind button. The cost isn't just your speech, your ability to walk, or your independence. It's the quiet horror of waking up one morning and not recognizing the face in the mirror. It's the burden it places on your spouse, your children, your caregivers, all from a teaspoon of something you thought was safe. Now, if that makes you stop and think, it should. Because what happens after sodium overload is even more dangerous. When your body starts to lose control of its chemistry and the electrolyte imbalance kicks in, it doesn't just attack your heart or your kidneys, it goes straight to your brain. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number one below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number two. 2. Electrolyte imbalance, leading to dizziness, seizures, or minor stroke. The human brain is a masterpiece, electrically charged, constantly in motion, and deeply sensitive to even the smallest chemical shifts. And yet, many seniors unknowingly tip this delicate balance every time they drink a glass of water laced with baking soda. It may sound harmless, even health conscious, but here's what I need you to understand. When you flood your body with baking soda, you're not just changing your digestion, you're altering your entire internal chemistry. Baking soda increases alkalinity in the blood. For a healthy adult in a controlled clinical setting, that might be acceptable in rare circumstances. But in older adults, whose bodies process things slower, whose kidneys can no longer filter efficiently, and whose nervous systems are more fragile, this shift can cause a dangerous state called metabolic alkalosis, a condition where your blood becomes too alkaline. That sounds technical, but the consequences are painfully real. Let me tell you about Mrs. Clara Thompson, age 79, a retired elementary school teacher from Wisconsin. She had a lovely habit of herbal teas, stretching in the mornings, and staying away from processed food. But when a friend suggested baking soda water for her heartburn, she began taking it nightly, without any idea that she was slowly unraveling her own neurological stability. After 2 months, Clara began experiencing waves of dizziness, the kind that made her cling to the hallway walls. Then came muscle twitching, like sparks firing under her skin. And one day, in the grocery store, she collapsed without warning. Her eyes rolled back and her body seized for 20 seconds. She had suffered a neurological event, something between a seizure and a mini stroke. At the hospital, her blood tests showed a critical drop in potassium levels and a sharp rise in blood alkalinity, classic signs of baking soda induced metabolic alkalosis. Here's what happened inside her. The baking soda had altered her electrolyte levels so severely that nerve signals to the brain and muscles were misfiring, like static on a phone line. Her body, trying to adjust, had spiraled into dysfunction. The worst part? She told me tearfully, I thought I was doing something gentle, something safe. That's the danger. It feels natural until the damage is done. The price Clara paid? She now lives with permanent balance issues, can no longer drive, and has to be accompanied by her daughter to avoid fall risks. One sip at a time, she had unwittingly shaken the very chemistry that kept her upright, steady, and independent. The older we get, the less room we have for error. Even minor shifts in sodium, potassium, or bicarbonate levels can spark confusion, weakness, or even unconsciousness. Your body is no longer forgiving. And if you think the danger ends there, think again. Because once the electrolyte imbalance starts, your kidneys are the next to suffer. And that damage, though often silent at first, can create a chain reaction that leads straight back to your brain. And by the time symptoms appear, the harm may already be done. 3. Kidney damage, the silent link between baking soda and brain decline. The kidneys are like the unsung heroes of the body, quietly working day and night to keep everything balanced. They filter waste, manage fluid levels, regulate blood pressure, and maintain the perfect balance of minerals and chemicals in your bloodstream. But when you're over 60, these vital organs don't work as efficiently as they once did. They're more vulnerable, they're slower to respond, and most dangerously, they're easier to overwhelm. Now imagine adding a daily dose of baking soda, a chemical compound packed with sodium, into that already delicate system. You might feel fine at first, but inside your body, stress is building. Every teaspoon of baking soda is a salt load the kidneys must handle. And over time, that strain starts to break them down, cell by cell, silently. I remember a patient named Walter Green, age 84, a proud Korean War veteran from Ohio. He came into my clinic complaining of persistent fatigue, swelling in his ankles, and occasional confusion. His wife mentioned he'd been drinking baking soda water twice a day for years, believing it helped with gout and digestion. He'd read online that it could alkalize the blood. What the internet didn't tell him is that daily exposure to sodium bicarbonate, especially in older adults, can lead to long-term kidney stress. When we ran his labs, the truth hit hard. His creatinine levels were elevated, a clear sign his kidneys were struggling. His electrolytes were imbalanced and his blood pressure was unpredictable, swinging between high and dangerously low. But the most worrying part, a brain scan revealed signs of reduced perfusion, meaning his brain wasn't getting the steady blood flow it needed. The cause? A mix of kidney-related fluid retention, unstable blood pressure, and narrowed arteries. Walter had never had a stroke, but he was teetering on the edge. His short-term memory had begun to slip. He forgot appointments, confused dates. He even got lost once on his morning walk. These weren't just signs of aging. They were early symptoms of silent brain injury, fed by years of unchecked kidney strain and poor circulation. He looked at me and said, "Doc, I thought I was doing something right." That's the tragedy. He wasn't reckless. He was trying to stay healthy. But no one had warned him that the kidneys and the brain are linked. When the kidneys begin to fail, they throw off blood pressure, create toxin buildup, and deprive the brain of what it needs most: oxygen, nutrients, and balance. The price Walter paid? He now lives with stage 3 chronic kidney disease and must limit fluid intake, salt, even certain vegetables. His independence is reduced, he's had to stop driving, and he fears, rightfully so, that a full stroke could be next. If you're using baking soda regularly, even just a little, your kidneys may be paying the price quietly until it's too late. And what starts in the kidneys doesn't stay there. It ripples outward, touching the brain, the heart, your energy, your memory, and your future. But the danger doesn't stop at what baking soda does on its own. What happens when you combine it with your daily medications? Because for many seniors, that combination could be the most dangerous cocktail of all. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Dangerous interactions with medication. It's one of the most overlooked dangers in senior health, the quiet, hidden interactions between over-the-counter remedies and prescription medications. And in my decades as a neurologist, few substances surprise me more in this regard than baking soda. At first glance, it seems harmless. It's not a pill. It's not a prescription. It's sitting in the back of your pantry next to the flour. But baking soda is a powerful chemical compound that dramatically alters the pH level of your blood and stomach. That one change can cause a ripple effect, interfering with how medications are absorbed, metabolized, and even eliminated from your body. Most older Americans take multiple prescriptions daily for blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol, blood thinners, or heart conditions. That's normal and often necessary. But what isn't often discussed is how something as simple as baking soda can make those medications unpredictable, sometimes even deadly. One of my patients, Mrs. Marlene Douglas, age 76, a retired librarian from Oregon, came to me after a fall in her kitchen. She had hit her head on the counter but couldn't remember how or why she fainted. She had been on lisinopril for blood pressure, metformin for type 2 diabetes, and low-dose aspirin for stroke prevention, a fairly standard regimen for someone her age. But when we reviewed her habits, something stood out. She had started taking baking soda water every morning to calm her stomach, as suggested by a neighbor. Unaware of the consequences, she thought she was helping herself. The truth was much darker. Baking soda had increased the alkalinity of her stomach, changing how her medications were being absorbed. The lisinopril stopped working effectively, causing sudden surges in her blood pressure. The aspirin's effect was amplified, thinning her blood more than intended. And her metformin? It became erratic, leading to unstable blood sugar levels, which likely contributed to her dizziness and collapse. She had unknowingly created a chemical imbalance in her body that made her carefully managed medication plan completely unreliable. One small cup of water each morning, laced with baking soda, was undoing the work of 3 essential prescriptions. That fall cost her dearly. She suffered a mild brain bleed, developed lingering vertigo, and had to stop living alone for the first time in her adult life. She told me, "I just didn't know. It was only baking soda." And that's the most dangerous part. Because when you're over 65, your body becomes far more sensitive to interactions. The liver slows down, the kidneys filter less efficiently, and your blood vessels are less forgiving. One unexpected reaction, just one, can send you from a steady routine into an emergency room. And yet, people trust baking soda simply because it doesn't come with a warning label. But that trust is often misplaced. And now we come to perhaps the biggest misconception of all, the one belief that leads many seniors straight into harm's way. If it's natural, it must be safe. But the truth about that idea might shock you. 5. Misleading safety. The danger of thinking it's natural. We live in a time where the word natural carries a certain comfort. It's on food labels, vitamin bottles, skin creams, and for many older adults, it suggests something gentle, something safe. And that's exactly where the danger lies. Because in medicine, the most harmful mistakes aren't always the ones made in crisis. They're the ones made quietly, with good intentions, day after day. Baking soda feels safe. It's in your kitchen. You baked cookies with it. Your mother used it. You've seen people use it for indigestion, for teeth whitening, even to freshen the fridge. So when someone says, add a teaspoon to water, it's natural, it barely registers as a health decision. But make no mistake, baking soda is not a harmless home remedy. It is a powerful, fast-acting chemical compound. And for the aging body, that natural remedy can become a silent threat. One of my patients, Mr. Franklin Ellis, 81, a retired mechanic from Indiana, came to my office complaining of occasional chest tightness, fatigue, and brain fog. He'd been proudly avoiding pharmaceuticals and had committed to natural wellness. He drank green smoothies, used essential oils, and had started drinking baking soda water every night after seeing a YouTube video that claimed it would cleanse the blood. By the time he came to me, his blood pressure was erratic, and lab tests showed elevated sodium and altered pH levels. But what shocked me most was his EKG. It showed new onset atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat that increases stroke risk by 5 times. When we looked deeper, there was no heart damage, no artery blockage, but there was one constant daily ingestion of baking soda over several months, slowly pushing his body into chemical imbalance. Franklin was devastated. He said, "Doc, I thought I was being smart. I just didn't want more pills." But now he needed blood thinners to prevent stroke, heart monitoring, and had to stop driving due to occasional dizziness. A man who took pride in his independence now had to rely on his daughter to read his mail, manage his medication, and cook his meals. And all of it stemmed from a belief that natural meant safe. What many seniors don't realize is this: some of the most toxic substances in medicine come from nature: arsenic, belladonna, cyanide. Natural means unprocessed. It doesn't mean harmless. It doesn't mean good for your body, especially a body that is older, slower to recover, and more sensitive to chemical shifts. Baking soda is natural. So is lightning. And that's why this conversation matters. Not to scare you, but to wake you up. Because a lifetime of wisdom deserves better than blind trust in a word on a label. It deserves understanding. It deserves caution. It deserves truth. So now that we've faced the 5 hidden dangers of baking soda, sodium spikes, electrolyte chaos, kidney stress, drug interference, and the illusion of safety, the question becomes, is there any way to use it safely at all? You might be wondering, if I still want to use baking soda, how can I do it without putting myself at risk? Let's talk honestly about that next. 6. So how should seniors use baking soda, if at all? After hearing the dangers, high sodium levels, chemical imbalances, kidney strain, drug interactions, and the illusion of safety, it's natural to ask, is there any way to use baking soda safely if I'm over 60? It's a fair question, and as a neurologist who works with aging adults every day, I want to answer it honestly and without fear-mongering. The truth is, baking soda can have medical uses, but only in specific temporary situations and only with medical guidance. It is not meant for long-term, unsupervised daily use, especially not for seniors whose bodies process salt and chemicals very differently than they did at age 30 or 40. I once treated Mr. George Pritchard, Sep7, a retired postal worker from Illinois. He'd read online that baking soda helped with gout and began drinking a small glass each morning. He was diligent, half a teaspoon, dissolved in warm water. He never smoked, watched his diet. He even kept a journal of his wellness routines. But over 6 months, George began feeling off. Slight chest pressure in the morning, foggy thinking, increased nighttime urination. He chalked it up to aging until one afternoon, while playing cards with friends, he slumped forward mid-sentence. He hadn't had a stroke, but a severe hypertensive episode. His blood pressure had skyrocketed, triggered by elevated sodium levels and compromised kidney function. What scared George the most wasn't the ambulance ride or the hospital stay. It was the realization that his small, healthy habit, a teaspoon a day, had silently undermined his body's balance. He told me in recovery, all I wanted was to avoid pills, but now I'm on 5 of them. So what do I recommend? If you're over 60 and considering using baking soda for occasional indigestion or reflux, here are the only safe practices, and even these are not for everyone. Never exceed 1/4 teaspoon at a time, diluted in at least 8 oz of water. Never take it more than 2 to 3 times per week. Never take it before bed. When your kidneys are slower and blood pressure is harder to regulate, avoid completely if you have high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney issues, are on blood thinners, or take medications that affect electrolyte levels. And above all, Always ask your doctor first. What seems minor to you may be major to your body. And let's be honest, if you're needing baking soda that often, the issue isn't acidity. It's the underlying cause that needs to be addressed. Relying on baking soda is like putting a wet towel on a fire alarm. It may stop the noise, but it does nothing for the flames. Now, after everything we've uncovered, you may be wondering one final thing. Why didn't anyone tell me sooner? And that answer takes us straight to the most important truth of all. Awareness is the medicine that saves lives. If you've read this far, you are not just curious, you are courageous. You're someone who values truth more than habit, someone willing to question long held beliefs for the sake of your health, your independence, and your future. As a doctor, I've seen far too many good people, strong, loving, disciplined men and women, lose their ability to speak, to walk, to remember, not because of one big mistake, but because of small choices repeated quietly over time, like a teaspoon of baking soda taken every day in the name of wellness. What you've learned today isn't about fear, it's about power. The power to choose wisely, the power to ask your doctor the hard questions, the power to protect your brain by understanding how your body changes with age. The truth is, when you're over 60, your body isn't the same machine it once was. Your kidneys are slower. Your blood vessels are thinner. Your nervous system is more sensitive. What once felt safe may now carry hidden risks. And no one will warn you unless you ask. You don't need more pills. You don't need more fads. What you need is clarity, caution, and connection to real food, to trusted guidance, and to your own intuition. So before you drink another glass with baking soda just because, take a moment to ask, is this really helping me? Or am I gambling with my health? The most powerful medicine you have left isn't in your cabinet. It's in your awareness. And it starts the moment you decide to listen. Let this be that moment. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.